In the remote valleys of Arunachal Pradesh, in the northeast of India, an ancient mystery is hidden, an age-old tribe that has endured for centuries, known as the Apatani. In this tribe, the women were considered so beautiful that they were kidnapped by other tribes. To avoid this, the Apatani women began to tattoo their faces and wear nose plugs with the intention of making themselves less attractive and avoiding the danger that almost made them completely disappear from the map. Don't miss this new video from Uncensored World to discover the secrets of the Apatani, one of the most extraordinary and unknown tribes on the planet, whose origin seems to be related to a migration from the high mountains of Tibet thousands of years ago to the isolated valley of Ziro, a remote mountainous region that has made interaction with other tribes and nations difficult, helping them to preserve their unique beauty and culture. A people who continue to struggle to maintain their ancient traditions, despite the challenges of modernization and contact with the outside world, and who continue to live in one of the most inaccessible regions on the planet. A unique community, outstanding not only for its beauty, but also for the distinctive features of its men and women, which contrast notably with those of other ethnic groups in the country. Even today, it preserves ancestral practices, such as the purchase of wives, which have endured throughout the centuries. Get ready to discover in this new video from Uncensored World the surprising reasons and curiosities that led the tribe with the most desirable women in India to hide their beauty with tattoos and piercings. Let's get started. Hidden in the remote and wild Ziro Valley in northeast India, you will now discover, lies the Apatani tribe, probably one of the most fascinating and least known ethnic groups on the planet. But before getting to know them in detail, it is important to understand that the reasons that make them unique, both in their physical appearance and in their customs and traditions, are deeply linked to the geography of their home, the remote Himalayan mountains in northeast India. These mountains are one of the oldest and highest mountain ranges on the planet and have acted as a natural wall that has isolated the Apatani people for centuries. Their territory, the remote and wild Ziro Valley in the state of Arunachal Pradesh, has been key to the Apatani maintaining their unique cultural identity and beauty over time. The geography of the place is fundamental to understanding how the Apatani have preserved both their culture and their physical appearance unchanged for centuries. In almost total isolation, surrounded by lush forests and mountains, this difficult-to-reach valley has been a natural barrier that has prevented external influences from disrupting their traditions. This geographical isolation also partly explains the distinctive features of the Apatani, especially in their women, who for centuries have been considered the most beautiful women in India, a distinction that would become their curse, as the beauty of their women attracted the greed of other tribes, forcing Apatani society to implement extreme rituals to protect themselves and survive. The Apatani are known for this, both now and throughout their history, for their uniqueness in terms of physical appearance, and their women, in particular, stood out for their facial features, which were unusual in the region, although today they stand out more for their tattoos and nose rings, among other changes to their bodies. In the past, one of the reasons why the Apatani were so desired by other tribes near and far is the contrast of their characteristics with those of the neighboring peoples. With a generally taller stature, lighter skin, and markedly different facial features, Apatani women were objects of desire, and many tribes competed for them, even going so far as to kidnap them. This phenomenon of capturing or abducting wives was a tradition that in the past reflected beauty and the desire to preserve that genetic uniqueness. The beauty of Apatani women lay not only in their physical appearance, but also in their ability to maintain a culture deeply connected to nature and ancestral beliefs. With this in mind, the Apatani culture is not only characterized by its physical isolation, but also by a set of fascinating practices that are still alive today. The Apatani culture, in addition to its physical isolation, has maintained a series of rituals and traditions that reflect its deep connection with nature and its system of ancestral beliefs. One of the most fascinating aspects is their tradition of bride purchase. Although this rite has evolved over time, in the past women were taken as wives by men from other tribes and societies, often furtively through a kind of kidnapping that was not always consensual. Over time, this practice changed, as you will soon discover, these women began to make changes to their faces and bodies, with the intention of making themselves unattractive to outside tribes and societies. These actions were not only about protecting them as women, but also as a society, as it ensured that Apatani women married within their community and preserved their culture and genetic uniqueness. For this reason, the tradition of buying wives emerged in the Apatani tribe, a process of mutual agreement and consensus between the families or future spouses. This practice, which could be considered a negotiation between the parties involved, guaranteed a union that respected both social traditions and the interests of the community. In terms of beliefs related to fertility, the Apatani community also has rites that reflect their respect for nature and its cycle. Women are responsible for taking care of the rice plantations and other crops, a job that is carried out with a series of rituals related to the fertility of the land. In some festivities, Apatani women perform dances that are directly linked to invoking abundance and prosperity in their crops. These ceremonies are also a time to celebrate the deep connection between the Apatani and their natural environment, something they consider essential for the survival of their community. The Apatani spiritual belief system is also distinguished by a social structure that places great emphasis on gender equality. Although the society is organized around a patriarchal system, women enjoy considerable respect and play a crucial role in decision-making within the community. In addition, women are free to choose their partners, a rather unique fact in a region where marriage practices are often stricter and more traditional. This balance between gender equality and respect for traditional roles highlights the importance of women within Apatani society, especially with regard to the continuity of their traditions. But the most intriguing ritual and reality of the Apatani is related to a practice that, for centuries, has marked the women of this ethnic group in a unique way: facial and body modification. This practice is a distinctive feature of their cultural identity today, but it emerged as a direct response to the threats they faced due to their extraordinary beauty. As you now know, in this remote environment, Apatani women were seen as the most beautiful in India, which attracted the greed of neighboring tribes, who did not hesitate to kidnap them, motivated by the desire to possess these women whose beauty went beyond the limits of the known. As a result, instead of trying to preserve that beauty as many might expect, the Apatani women made a radical decision. Instead of enhancing their attractiveness and beauty, they began to deliberately modify their faces and bodies, seeking to make them increasingly ugly or less desirable to the men of neighboring tribes. In this way, they sought to discourage the interest of those outsiders who came to the region in search of women to take as wives. This cultural phenomenon emerged as a defensive response to centuries of persecution, and they did so through practices such as facial tattoos and scarification. That is why today, every Apatani woman in this tribe proudly wears a series of tattoos on her face, generally covering her forehead, cheeks, and chin, with the intention over the centuries that her features would become increasingly distinctive and less attractive in the eyes of men outside her community. These tattoos, carefully applied with natural ink, not only modified their appearance, but also had a profound value, representing an essential part of their identity as Apatani women. In addition to tattoos, Apatani women underwent another equally distinctive process that they still carry out today: the insertion of nose discs. Unlike other cultures that have used facial adornments for ornamental purposes, the Apatani nasal discs were used to modify their faces, further contributing to the elimination of their beauty, according to external standards. For the Apatani, the larger the discs, the greater the reputation and respect they acquired within their community. These discs were a symbol of maturity, that an Apatani woman had reached adulthood and was ready to assume her role within the tribe. but also a symbol of distancing from external influences and elimination of the ego. Over the centuries, this practice became very popular among the women of the tribe and became a rite that was passed down from generation to generation. Young Apatani women were subjected to these rituals from an early age, and over time, the result became a hallmark of the tribe's culture and identity. Over the years, the procedure became so successful within the community that the women were proud to bear these marks as a testament to their struggle and the resilience of their people in the face of adversity. However, although these procedures made Apatani women less attractive to outsiders within their community, the beauty of the women was never questioned or changed. Moreover, this transformation seemed to fill them with strength to the point of endowing them with greater beauty and power within their society. In the Apatani tribe, female beauty is still recognized, not from a perspective of external desirability, but from an internal appreciation of what strength, sacrifice, and cultural preservation represent. Tattoos and nose rings, far from detracting from their beauty, made them even more majestic in the eyes of the men of the tribe, who saw in these modifications not only a sign of maturity, but also a reminder of their struggle to preserve their identity. For the Apatani, beauty is linked to resistance, to a deep connection with their history and ancestral beliefs. Apatani women, with their modified faces, represent the eternal struggle to keep their culture intact in the face of external threats. While these practices may seem paradoxical in a world where beauty is measured by the desire of others, for the Apatani, they are a reaffirmation of what it really means to be beautiful. Not to be a slave to the standards imposed by the outside world, but to be a symbol of pride and strength within their own community. Nowadays, facial adornments are no longer made with the same frequency, but the women who still bear these marks of their past are considered a symbol of the rich history and culture that they have managed to preserve. The beauty of the Apatani women, although no longer physically modified in the same way, continues to be recognized and appreciated for their authenticity, their resilience, and their ability to remain true to their roots. Having reached this point, we would like to ask you, would you like to spend some time with the Apatani and enjoy their beauty? Do you think the Apatani women are beautiful? What do you think about the abduction of women and the need to modify their bodies to make them less attractive to neighboring tribes? Pause the video and leave us your comment. You know that doing so is the best way you have to support Uncensored World and help us to continue working to create content as interesting as this every week, so thank you. In addition to their bodies, scarification, and tattoos that make them unique, the Apatani are also one of the few matrilineal tribes in India, which means that descent and inheritance are transmitted through the maternal line. In this society, women play a central role not only in family life, but also in the social structure. The family name, property, and assets pass through the women, and it is the mother who exercises authority over the children, including in decision-making within the community. This system contrasts with the patriarchal norms that predominate in other parts of India, giving Apatani women significant power in the management of resources and social organization. Furthermore, this matrilineal model highlights the deep respect that the community has for women, especially with regard to their role in the preservation of traditions and collective well-being. In terms of religious beliefs, the Apatani do not follow Hindu practices, nor do they integrate into the caste system that characterizes much of Indian society. Their religion is animist, and their gods and spirits are much closer to nature and the environment in which they live. The Apatani do not worship Hindu deities such as Vishnu or Shiva, nor do they practice Hindu religious rituals. Instead, their spirituality is centered on the veneration of the spirits of nature and the supernatural forces that they believe control their world. This makes them a unique culture within the broader context of India, preserving a system of beliefs and practices that have remained virtually unchanged over the centuries. For the Apatani, the forest, the rivers, the mountains, and even the animals have a soul and are guided by spiritual energies that influence the well-being of the community. This worldview has remained intact over the centuries, being passed down from generation to generation as a central tenet of their identity. Harmony with nature is not just an ecological principle for them, but a spiritual mandate, and the daily life of the Apatani is riddled with rituals and ceremonies that seek to honor and appease these spirits. The Apatani are also known for their impressive system of terraced agriculture in the Ziro Valley, an ancestral technique that has allowed them to survive in a difficult, mountainous terrain. This system of terraced cultivation has been fundamental to their subsistence, as it has provided them with a way to make the most of the scarce arable land in a rugged landscape. The terraces are carefully designed to make the most of the monsoon rains and create small, sustainable ecosystems where they grow rice, corn, and other crops. This method of cultivation has not only been essential for the survival of the community, but has also been recognized by UNESCO, which included it in its list of World Heritage Sites due to the complexity and sustainability of the Apatani agricultural system. The preservation of the local ecosystem is another crucial facet of Apatani life. A prominent example of their focus on sustainability is the care of the tanbo, small areas of water and vegetation where they practice fish farming and agriculture in harmony with the environment. These spaces are used to raise fish and cultivate rice in a sustainable way, without damaging the natural balance. The Apatani have developed a deep knowledge of local ecosystems, and have passed this knowledge down through the generations, enabling them to maintain an ecological balance that few other groups have achieved. This respect for the environment is an integral part of their culture and is fundamental to their identity as a community. The Apatani language is also a vital component of their unique cultural identity. Their language is one of the most complex in the Tibeto-Burman family and has a wide variety of sounds that are difficult for speakers of other languages to replicate. Despite globalization and external influences, the Apatani language has remained almost intact, reflecting the tribe's cultural isolation and resistance to external pressures. This fact highlights the importance of language as a vehicle for the transmission of their ancestral traditions and knowledge, which are essential for the survival of their culture. Unfortunately, the present and future of the Apatani is under threat, although, as you will see, the reasons are very different from those of the past. For centuries, the traditions of abducting women and other rituals formed part of their identity and put the survival of their women, and with it their society, at risk. But although today these practices have been forgotten, the tribe faces another equally devastating pressure, that of modernity. Migration to large cities and access to external technologies and resources are causing rapid changes in the lives of the Apatani, who are increasingly distanced from their traditional practices. Similarly, globalization and employment opportunities in urban areas have led many young Apatani to leave their villages in search of a more modern life, which jeopardizes the preservation of their language, customs, and way of life. This isolation and the impact of migration are leading the Apatani culture towards a process of gradual extinction. As the younger generations move away from rural life and integrate into urban life, ancestral knowledge about terraced farming, the preservation of the tanbos, the distinctive features of their women, and linguistic traditions are losing relevance. If steps are not taken to preserve these fundamental elements of Apatani culture, there is a risk that one of India's most unique tribes will vanish, taking with it a cultural legacy that has endured for centuries. These and other factors threaten their way of life and put their identity at risk, underscoring the urgent need to support them in their struggle to maintain their legacy. From Uncensored World, we hope that the Apatani community maintains its beauty and traditions, and we hope that this video has helped you discover one of the most remote and unknown tribes on the planet, and that it has been as interesting for you as it has been for us. If so, don't hesitate to leave us a nice like and a comment. It's the best way to help us continue working to bring you such interesting content every week, as this video, which you can now watch, to discover another of the most mysterious and beautiful places on the planet. Or like this video that you can now watch, to discover another of the most mysterious and beautiful places on the planet. Click on it. You're going to enjoy it.